Neighbors helping neighbors once again. We've been here before. Together we shall get through this yet again. We also want to shout out and a big thank you to our Type 3 incident team. This is our local firefighting team. They are the ones that have managed this fire so far and managed it so expertly. Last night, it was this crew that kept everything under control. There was very little fire. Management team, the National Weather Service, the Coconino National Forest, the Coconino County Sheriff's Office, and of course, members of Coconino County. And just like for any meeting, before we get started, there's some housekeeping I just need to go over with you. Each speaker today will give remarks. We are not going to take questions until the very end, so please hold off on your questions to the very end of the presentation. We will remain here afterwards, so if you do have individual questions, we will be here afterwards for those questions. After the remarks are completed, we will open this up for questions, and this time we actually do have microphones here at the end of each of the aisles. So please come on up, line up behind the microphones there, and of course, please give your name, and if you want to state whether you are in the impacted area, please feel free to share that. That's certainly up to you. We also ask that you try to ask one question per person, and that's just a time element. And as I said, we'll be here afterwards, so we can do follow-up questions afterwards as well. So we want to thank you again for being here today. We are in this together. We will be here throughout the process. And at this point, I'd like to turn this over to my Vice Chair of the Coconino County Board of Supervisors and District 2 Supervisor, Geronimo Vasquez, who, as I said, represents many of those impacted by the tunnel fire. So, Supervisor Vasquez.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here, coming for this update. I really appreciate your time being here. And, you know, this is a difficult time for our community. And one thing that I really wanted to stress is how resilient we are as a community and how much effort the community has put out to support folks. I was out there this morning seeing some of the volunteer efforts from different communities, and just want to say thank you to all the community partners and the people in the community that have come out to help support everybody here. I'd also like to thank our first responders, our firefighters, both from the Type 1 and Type 3 teams that have been doing an excellent job in getting this under control as much as possible under the circumstances. We're not out of the woods yet, but we're getting there. And hopefully this weekend we'll see some changes that will allow us to be in a better situation. I'd also like to thank our county staff for all their hard work working through this. It's been a grind. You know, Tuesday happened really fast and things proceeded really quickly, and the team got up and running really fast. And so thank you, all of you that have been involved in these efforts. And most of all, I want to thank the residents, the ones who are affected from this, for your patience and understanding. I know this is a hard time. We're sorry for your loss, and we're doing our best to make sure we can help support you and get you home when it's safe as soon as possible. I did want to share about the crisis line, the behavioral crisis line. If you haven't taken advantage of it and you need someone to talk to, please do so. They're available 24 hours a day. You can reach them at 1-877-756-4090. They are available on the county social media pages, so please reach out if you need it. They're trained crisis intervention specialists available every day of the year to help over the phone. This is confidential and is open to anybody that needs help. I'd also like to put in a plug for the Assistance Center. If for service needs and the assistance, please call our Tunnel Fire call center number at 928-679-8525. We have assistance through the Assistance Center available to help guide you towards resources that you may need as you're coming back. We know that this is a crisis and we're going through it, but the recovery is going to take a minute, and this is not over yet. And we're all in this together. We'll get through it together, and I really appreciate the opportunity to support you and represent you in this time of crisis, and look forward to being there through the long haul as we recover from this situation. Again, I'm sorry for your loss. You're not alone. We are in this together, and we'll get through this together. Thank you. I will now turn it over to the incident management team for an update on the fire and its status.
And as I said, we do have a Type 1 incident management team that you'll get to meet. The incident commander's name is Randy Johnson. And when I heard the incident commander was Randy Johnson, I knew we would be in good hands. So Randy Johnson, and also James Osborne, Operations Section Chief, Incident Management Team.
Good afternoon, folks. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you a little bit today. We are, as has been mentioned, one of the national incident management teams, Type 1 qualification. We are housed in the Pacific Northwest. Most of our members are from Washington, Oregon area. We're an interagency team made up of individuals that work for multiple different agencies, from the the federal and state land management agencies, so Forest Service, BLM, Park Service, state agencies, the Washington Department of Natural Resources, and Oregon state folks. So it's a pretty good cross-section. Additionally, we have local government, fire service, law enforcement background, those types of things. We bring all that together in a team so that we can best serve the needs that you have. We're here to respond to this incident as a fire response. We also respond to various other types of emergencies, hurricane response. This team responded to the shuttle disaster when that happened, if you remember back that far. So it's quite a cross-section of people and experience. What we can do with that is leverage that diverse background to best serve you and suit your needs for whatever is most important to you. So that's one of the reasons that we get called in. I will say it can't be overstated, the good work that was done by your local Northern Arizona Type 3 team. We came in, they were well in place, had systems up and running. We're taking good measures to mitigate the incident as quickly as possible. That allowed us to transition in quite rapidly. One of the things we talk about in this business is transition is a watch-out time, as you have people coming and going, and that's a time things can get lost. But with the good foundation that was built by your team, it allowed us to hit the ground running and not lose the momentum that they had established for the mitigation of this incident. So again, can't be overstated. What you have is a very valuable resource here in your own neighborhood, in your own backyard, and encourage you to support that as we go forward. So again, we're here now. We transitioned this morning. Transfer of command happened at 7 o'clock this morning. So our folks spent yesterday in what we refer to as a shadow day, going around with the team that was in place, following along what they had in place, whether it was their financial setup, the logistics setup that they had already begun to put in place, and of course the operational setup out on the ground, and where they were working, where they were emphasizing the response and the resources. We did that yesterday. Had a good opportunity to shadow that team, get a lot of information for our folks, so that this morning when they went out and stepped into the incident, they were already moving forward, like I mentioned. So today, being our first day on the incident, we're continuing to build that knowledge and prioritize where the work needs to be done. This is a big part of that, listening to the community, because that is who we're here to work for. We're brought in, we're ordered by agencies, and we understand that that's one of our bosses, and we also understand that the community is the other person, that the other folks that we're working for. And so we want to hear from you. We'll provide you with updates as we go through this incident. We're available, whether it's now or at any time while we're here, to address your questions and hear your concerns and your input. So success for us is to respond when asked, to engage the incident in a safe and effective manner, provide for your safety, provide for the safety of our resources and our responders, stabilize the incident, mitigate the incident to the best of our ability, and then leave. There's a fine line between being, here and being welcomed, and then it's time for you to go. So we're mindful of that, and we want to get that done as fast as possible, as safely as possible, get you folks back to your normal life, and get your community back to you, and get calm things down as best we can. So that's who we are. Again, we'll be here working this incident for the foreseeable future, and looking forward to interacting with you and your community, and being, again, as least impact to your community as we can. So with that, I'll pass the mic to Operations Section Chief James Osborne, who will go into a little more detail specific to the fire, the perimeter, and where we're at, current situation with our efforts. Thank you.
Just point out that we bounce all over the country and do these type of incidents, and the efforts that the local unit, the Forest Service, the state, the fire departments, all the effort that they put in the last number of days to really, what I would call, stabilize this incident in front of us getting here. They really did set us up for success to tackle this incident and put a bow on it and get you back into your homes and back to normal life. So I just want to definitely highlight that it's not us coming here to put the fire out. It's a full team effort, and what the local unit did, the local cooperators, was first and foremost number one to set us up for success. So starting up in Division Alpha, up here on the fire, we'll start and kind of go clockwise around the incident to give you an idea of what's going on. So Branch 1, which is all west of Highway 89. Starting in Division Alpha. These divisions are combined on a 204, so it's an assignment list that we use for resources. They're in here working in the old Schultz fire scar, going direct and indirect using the 420 road, and some dozer lines coming off the 420 road to secure that fire. Yesterday evening and through the morning hours when we arrived, there was 500 acres that initially came across that back into Highway 89 is basically the control feature is the road system with some additional dozer line in there. And so what we're doing is mopping up, extinguishing flames, pulling material in, heavier logs and things that are burning, and just trying to secure that line so that when the winds come back up, we don't have a chance for escape. Coming up across the highway into Division Bravo, which is also Branch 2 here on the map. Division Bravo and Charlie are a combined division, and what we've used up there for the control feature is a patchwork of road systems as well as dozer lines. And so it's been a direct effort right on the fire edge, putting the fire out on this stretch, going out towards to the east here, to this basically a finger of fire that breaks off to the north. So direct control effort, again, securing that line, mopping up the fire and whatnot. Coming up along this finger, we do have local crews in that area with some of the local dozers, and they're looking at an indirect and a direct effort in that area. So right on the fire line and utilizing potentially the road systems. So not being right on the fire line, it's a little bit of a both strategy based on the terrain, based on the lava flows that are there, based on the field types, et cetera. So we're looking at for a different strategy in this area to most likely do some indirect efforts, tying it into this 9134 Echo road system, and then back up towards this Strawberry Crater Wilderness area. So again, a combined direct, indirect, and that's how we'll work this effort out and around the head of the fire. Coming up into Division Mike, we do have the Flagstaff hotshots up into this area, and they're working on cold trailing, securing edge there. Cold trailing is basically using your hand and feeling for hot spots along the edge. It actually allows you to gain further ground and takes a lot less effort, but you basically touch every inch of that fire edge to make sure that it's cool, cold, and then when you find a hot spot, you end up mopping it up and securing it. So Flagstaff's in this area. They'll be working down towards the south. Due to the lesser wind conditions, the calmer winds that we've had today, we have been able to utilize a helicopter up there to do bucket drops. And we'll continue to utilize the helicopter on the fire perimeter as the winds allow. The last number of days we have not flown aviation assets because it's been way too windy to get up there and have them be effective, have it be safe for them and the ground folks. Coming down into Division X-ray and Whiskey, it's a similar scenario like this northern side. It's again a patchwork of road systems, dozer lines that has corralled this fire edge, and we are patrolling that, mopping up and securing that, and will be for the next few days. Coming down here, like I mentioned, this division is combined, but we do have our structure protection group. And the structure protection group is a group that actually is able to move all around the fire, and they're not assigned to a specific geographic area. They bounce around wherever the need is. And so those folks will be working all of the structures that have been affected in this area, as well as looking at and just having a worst case scenario plan and know where to go, what to do, et cetera, with the areas of the communities that are on the periphery of the fire still. So they're in here mopping up within the structures, securing those hot spots and things in and around the structure, so once folks are able to come back in, it should be not a safety issue to you all. Overall, with that, the ground folks have been looking at the monument and trying to gain access and maintaining access into the administration sites there. And we'll be doing so with all of the utilities and that sort of infrastructure there. The power company, I've heard that they have secured all the power lines within the affected subdivisions, have fixed the power lines, have energized the power lines, so that includes the feeder lines, the KV line that runs through there, as well as all of the service panels that were affected on the structure. So that area has been re-energized in terms of power. In terms of the evacuation and the highway, we're working really diligently with the sheriff's office, so I won't update you on that, but just know we are having constant conversation about when you folks can get back into your community and do that safely, as well as provide the safety to the firefighter while they're in that area. So I'll leave it with that and be available for questions at the end. Thank you.
And next, we have our National Weather Service, Brian Klemowski.
All right, thank you very much. We can keep this kind of quick here this evening. Now, we had a strong cold front move through yesterday. As you're aware, it brought some showers, which were great to see. Strong winds yesterday, but now behind the front, much lighter winds, cooler temperatures really helping out. with the firefighting efforts. Here's the forecast for the next couple days. What you see now is what you're going to get, okay, through the rest of the weekend. Lighter winds out of the north, maybe a little bit more out of the northeast on Sunday, a little bit more easterly on Monday, but pretty light winds, 10 to 15 miles an hour, maybe gusting to 20. You know, the winds get a little squirrely in the Donny Park area. We're all familiar with that. But keep in mind, one thing will change. With the northerly winds and the fire to our north, it's going to start bringing smoke into the Donny Park area. You might have already sensed that. You're certainly going to feel it tonight as the cold temperatures, with the temperatures falling and the winds becoming light tonight, we're going to see smoke filtering into the Donny Park area. So just because you smell smoke tonight doesn't mean the fire is any closer, okay? It just means we're receiving smoke from the fire, which is to our north. We can go ahead and advance through a couple of the slides here. Basically a graphic here which is showing, do you want to advance the slides? There we go. Yeah. The light northerly winds today and tomorrow. Let's skip to the next one. A little bit more easterly on Monday. And then the winds are going to come back. Tuesday through Thursday, we're going to be in a much more typical pattern with those strong southwesterly winds once again. Low relative humidities, winds gusting 30, 35 miles an hour Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and remaining elevated overnight like we often see in those downsloping wind conditions. So be alert for that, but the next couple days, lighter winds and much more favorable firefighting conditions. So thank you.
We're going to hear a Coconino National Forest update. Matt McGrath, Flagstaff District Ranger, Coconino National Forest.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Matt McGrath, District Ranger in Flagstaff. The other night, we were asked a question, and we didn't answer it very well. And I'll go ahead and get back to that in a minute and answer that question better. But one of the things that came from that was that somebody emailed me later in the night to say, you didn't answer that question very well. And then they essentially were saying, to paraphrase, it's their story, so I'm not going to share, but they drove away from their home as it was burning. So pretty traumatic. And they essentially were saying to me, Matt, what the hell? Which was a reasonable question, right? So I replied to that, and then this morning they replied back, and I saw it, and I opened up the email, and sometimes you never know what you're going to get when you open up an email. And it was a lot different than I was expecting. This person talked about understanding the tough job that we have, and they said, we usually do a very good job. And they said, this time I think you could have done a better job, which is also a reasonable thing for them to say. Then, at the end, they said, I still support you, which I just sort of stood there and looked at that for a while because it was pretty remarkable to me. It showed incredible strength and grace that I can probably only aspire to, but really meaningful to me and also to all of my firefighters, but many, maybe most of whom were born and raised here in Flagstaff, Belmont, Parks, Williams, and our northern Arizona through and through, and taking this really, really hard, whether or not their homes were lost or not. So just wanted to thank that person for their understanding and their support. Very much appreciate it. The question that we were asked the other night that led to that was about fire starts and how fires start here in northern Arizona. And this person said, most fires are lightning caused, and nationally that is true. And this is where we didn't answer the question well because we were answering for northern Arizona, so we got that wrong. But what I wanted to do is clarify some of that and talk here about northern Arizona and how our fires are caused. And that's what this table here is for. We have remarkably good statistics on this going back to 1970. I don't know how we haven't lost them over 51 years or 52 years, but I appreciate that we didn't. And so what this table has is a comparison of human-caused fires on the Coconino National Forest and lightning-caused fires. And we have this year by year, but to get it up here on the slide, we combined it by decades. And so the bright yellow column, or the column on the left for folks, are human-caused fires. And so in the 70s, about 2,000 a year, and actually trending down a little bit to around 1,200 a year for most of the past few years, although that has increased, the number of human caused has been increasing a little bit over the past few years. The lightning is on the right and shows we used to have 4,000, almost 4,000 lightning-caused fires a year, and that's also been kind of trending down, which is a little bit interesting. And this is basically that same information, but just another way to share it with you, where it has human on the left and lightning on the right, and you see them trending down. Human has gone down a little bit and kind of plateaued. I think one of the reasons for that is that we have in the past several years, more than several, probably 10, 15, 20 years, we have a pretty robust prevention program here on the forest, where we have 8 or 10 people whose jobs basically over the summer is to drive around and look for fires, illegal fires or not illegal fires, and put them out. And I think we've done a better job at finding human fires, and also messaging restrictions and slowing down that cause. The lightning is really interesting. We've got a lot less lightning strikes here than we used to. I'll have to ask the Weather Service about that. If we have half as much lightning in northern Arizona as we used to, I'm not sure. But wanted to share that with folks because we were asked that question about how are fires on the Coconino here caused, and we didn't have a great answer. So I wanted to make sure I made that right and gave everybody accurate information. One thing that I didn't mention the other night, and I should have, it was a little bit of a fog of war situation, to be honest with you, was that one thing that we do here on the Coconino is we have a permanent camping and campfire restriction surrounding the city. And so you'll see the bright yellow towards the bottom and to the right. Camping and campfires are prohibited there year-round, every year. In that orange section, which is really Mount Eldon and the Dry Lake Hills, camping is permitted, but campfires are prohibited year-round, every year. This fire started in that orange section where campfires are prohibited, which I think helps show the challenge that we have sometimes, where even if we prohibit something, the thing, speed limits and stuff like that, if people aren't being watched all the time, bad actors sometimes are going to do what they want. And I don't know if this was a campfire. I don't know what caused it. We have an investigation going. We know that there was no lightning that day. But wanted to share this with folks. It's one of the most important things we do to help keep the community safe. We do this in cooperation with the Sheriff's Office, with the state. Oftentimes, we have different laws, different rules, regulations, but this is one that we all agree on, and we all work together to enforce it. I wanted to mention again was how important the community is to helping us spot and prevent fires. And we talked a little bit about that in terms of closing the forest, and sometimes that's tough because we don't have good people reporting fires. This morning, I was reading through the transcript of the initial attack on Tuesday when this fire got out of containment and made that run. And going back to Sunday when it was first reported, it was somebody who called in. Their spouse was here the other night, and they said, yeah, that was my wife. She called it in and reported it on Sunday. And then on Tuesday also, it was people calling it in and telling us what was going on that helped us respond to it. So just wanted to, once again, thanks everybody for their diligence and helping us do our best to protect the community. Not perfect all the time by any stretch, but absolutely doing the best we can because it's the most important thing we do. Thank you very much.
And next, we're going to hear from the Sheriff's Office update. As most of you, those may have been evacuated, know, the Sheriff's Office and the staff have really been staffing the evacuation line, and I've been assisting so many people.
Thank you, Patrice. I know that so many of you are here to hear about when you're getting back in, and I'll try to address that here in just a second. But this reentry process it can be difficult, and I know all of you want back in, and we want you to get back in. But it's important that it is a safe and orderly process. There's going to be people in those areas that working with utilities. There's going to be kids that are in there running around. There's going to be a lot of animals, things like that. And the last thing that we want is for somebody to get hurt or animals to be run over or things like that. So at this point, we're asking you to please take it easy when we blow the whistle on that reentry. I want to go through the process a little bit about how it's going to work. People coming north, go to Silver Saddle Trading Post. There'll be several lanes that you'll go through. You'll be able to pick up a packet of information, the same packets that we have out in the entryway today, on what to do and precautions, and Kim Musselman will talk more about those packets in a minute. But we'll give you, show your ID that you live in the area. We'll get you a unique to be there immediately. We're going to hold off for several hours. We're also keeping the highway closed for several hours until you all have a chance to get in, survey your home, kind of tend to business if you need to, before we open up the Highway 89 North. The Arizona Department of Transportation is doing this in collaboration with us, just to allow you guys some time to see what the needs may be around your home. We're asking that when you go back that you remain in a set status. From the ready, set, go, you'll still be in a set status. We're also asking that you don't try to bring your livestock in at the same time. Give it a day, if it's possible, before you bring your livestock in, so we can avoid a lot of trailers and things like that. So again, we're just trying to do this as safely as we can. The other area I want to cover is to thank you for your patience. You've really been great with us. We've had a few issues and dealt with those, but you folks have been phenomenal. Your patience and understanding for the first responders all throughout the process, for the firefighters and you're getting your tax dollars worth from all the cooperation that we've been able to do here. So thank you very much.
And next, we're going to talk a little bit about the Reentry and Community Assistance Center from our very own Director of Health and Human Services, Kim Musselman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to spend a few minutes. You received packets as you came in today, and for those of you listening online, all of the packet information that folks received here in person is all available online, and I will be sharing that web address with you as well as I cover a couple of things. We absolutely recognize that entering your home after a fire can be very difficult. You will find things untouched, or you may find things in a very different state than how you remember them. No matter what that situation is, we want you to just be mindful of a few things, in particular all of the hazards that may be present as you return. whether you are in a very heavily impacted fire area or whether you are in an area that has been evacuated that maybe had little to no fire impact. One of the things that we know for sure for all of you is that issues regarding your food in your refrigerator and your freezers, those are going to be contaminated and a lot of spoiled food. I did want to share, just for a quick moment, with respect to smoke. I know that Brian mentioned the wind shifting and smoke coming back, likely coming back pretty heavily into the impacted areas. One of the pieces of information is specific to your health, monitoring your health regarding smoke and other air conditions, and what to do and how to protect yourself from those effects of smoke. So we encourage you to look at all the information that you received, take this time to go through those documents and also access those documents online. The last thing that I want to touch on, specific to what the county is here to assist with and provide connection and resources, is our Community Assistance Center. It has been open since Thursday, and we are able to assist you both in person and all online as well. The Community Assistance Center is located at the Guidance Center. We are in the Outpatient Services Building. We are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily for the time being and for the foreseeable future as determined by need. That location you can either enter off of Industrial Drive at 2695 East Industrial Drive, or you can access via 2187 North Vicky Street. And there are sandwich board signage to get you to that location. Information from the Sheriff's Department, that you received a couple of handouts as you came in today. All of that is going to be located, and the page is live at coconino.az.gov/re-entry-information. So we encourage you all to go there for all of the electronic documents. And lastly, with respect to this information, again, the Tunnel Fire Call Center information line is open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, and that phone number is 928-679-8525. The last thing I want to mention for all of you in the room and also those of you listening, Joey from FedEx approached me this afternoon and asked that I share a message with all of you. Many of you order packages, whether it's for your medications, it's pet food, any number of other things. And FedEx is storing packages, your packages right now, at 57 William Drive. That's across from the Flagstaff Airport. And if you need to pick up packages, you are welcome to do so, or they can actually redirect your packages to the Safeway on Highway 89. They can also work with you about returning things to sender. So I'm going to give you a couple phone numbers, and then also, again, this information will be provided on and shared from the Coconino County website and social media. Thank you very much.
And our last speaker is someone who probably you recognize more than any other member of the county staff during a time of crisis, Lucinda Andriani.
Thank you, Chair. So, this is, I know I think I said this the other night, but it's deja vu all over again. And I just want all of you to know that, we and I are here for you. We're here for you through the entire extent, just like we were for Schultz. Those of you that went through Schultz, and I think all of you know, I gave my heart and soul to that effort for over 5 years, and every year, every spring, I make sure every one of those gauges up there, and I make sure the flood director, everybody's still very much paying attention to everything that goes on out there. So, you are my people. I love that area, and we're going to do everything we can to support you through this and the recovery. So hang in there with us. So I have a few things I want to cover today relative to reentry. And first, I want you to know that like we did with Schultz, we're working very closely with United. And they want to support you once again. And we're getting, a lot of calls and so forth in terms of interest to support you with the cleanup and other things, support you may need. So, as you await reauthorization to return, and that's a sheriff decision as has been discussed, there's a couple things, though, to be aware of. Obviously, one of the first things you'll want to do when you return is deal with the spoiled food within your refrigerators. And as you're going to see in your packet, most of you, the outage was, they say if it's over 4 hours, you should dispose of the contents of your refrigerator. Some of the freezers may or may not have sustained, but that information is all in the packet. But I want you to know that this today, spoiled food containers, I won't use the term dumpster because I'm going to use that for another set of waste, but there are specific containers that take waste food, and those have already been deployed into the affected neighborhoods. And within your packet, there is a map showing where they're located. And we'll do the best we can to pull those bins as they get filled. But know that if you go to a particular location and it's filled there, so make sure it's packaged. And then I think as Kim mentioned, there will be on Monday, grocery assistance will be provided for you to be able to restock as well through the assistance center. And we do have someone that'll be patrolling those bins, but I can't, this is an outside service provided by Bleakers and Waste Management. I can't guarantee that it'll be pulled and dumped immediately. We're going to do the best we can. Then you're going to find hazardous materials, paint, oil, different types of hazardous materials. Again, there's more information in your packet. The only thing that goes in the food containers is food, and that's all that's out there right now. On Monday, we will deploy dumpsters for other waste, but for all the hazardous waste, batteries, anything, electronics, things like that may have been damaged or destroyed, and you need to dispose of those. They need to go to the Cinder Lake landfill, which fortunately is close to you, and you're probably all familiar with the Hazardous Project Center there, and they will take those materials, no cost. The county will cover that cost. So please take all those materials to the landfill. on the area that actually burned. Where there's a need, we're going to try to get those as close as we can. They have to be on a public roadway, so they have to be on a county road. And so we've made an arrangement with the owner of the old Pick and Run, the area there on the east side of 89, just south of the Copeland Ditch, that we used extensively through Schultz for staging materials. We will have both the food containers are there, you'll see, and then we'll also have dumpsters there as well for people who live in areas on private roads. So they'll be staged again out in the area as well. And again, that's for the non-hazardous waste and burn materials. Green waste, obviously no surprise, we are in fire season. And I think you're going to see that, this fire was a testament to defensible space. And so really strongly encourage you, when you are allowed to go back in, to clean around your homes, clean up the green waste, needles, branches, dead material, anything hanging over your homes. There is online a graphic that's available that provides all the detail about creating defense. Day. Home insurance. I assume those of you that have lost homes, I want to extend my empathy to you and know how difficult that is, understanding that, how difficult that is. Be sure to contact your insurance provider. Of course, you probably already have. There are links, again, on the website about how to communicate with your provider. And if you have any issues with your provider, the name of the state insurance commissioner and the hotline to call there, they're very helpful. We found this during Tinder. We referred a number of people there and worked with them. They were very helpful. Property damage assessments. On Monday, the state Department of Emergency Management, as well as the county community development, as teams, will go out and be conducting property damage assessments. And that information can be made available to you when they complete that information. It will not be made available to anyone else. And that can be made available to you. We can also supply to you, if you had damages that are documented, home loss in particular, for your insurance agents as well. Typically, they're going to send someone out as well, but if you need any kind of documentation, and we're working with them. That will be a process that we'll work through with particularly focused initially with those who lost their homes. With Tinder, we worked with individuals, identified some individuals, said, hey, I have insurance, I'm just going to work through that. They want to bring someone specific in to do the cleanup, and that's certainly fine. That's your personal decision. However, if you want to provide that service provided, we're looking into being able to provide that service again as well, particularly for those who may not have had insurance, if they need that assistance. So we'll work with them to coordinate that, and we'll be working one-on-one with you in that process, because we need to secure a waiver from you to be able to proceed with that, if that's a service you want to take advantage of. So next, I've been getting a lot of calls and texts from some of you about what's going to happen with flooding. And they have flown the area with the infrared cameras that show us you know, what the intensity of the burn, the severity of the burn is, and we're monitoring those flights. And I have spoken with J.E. Fuller, as you'll remember, that did all the analysis. They still have and then we'll be working with you. We'll get that information out. We will share with you the results of those analysis, and then go from there. If we need to mobilize for mitigation, we will be there to do that, you know, with you. Sandbags, barriers, et cetera, whatever that modeling indicates. As we did before, we will use science. But again, we're already all set with the, you know, with all the information, the gauges and everything. Those have all been being maintained. And you'll get a lot more communication, obviously, if there is a concern that comes out of that modeling. We've confirmed that we lost one of the terminal trenches above Wupaki. If everybody's aware of where the water came into Wupaki, we had a trench that gathered the water and then put it through then put it into the channel that then went through the development. We did lose that, that structure. The logs burned. We've already got a plan, beginning to develop a plan to bring rock in to replace that, to make that functional. Very likely we lost the one above Brandis as well. And so any of those structures that need to be reconstructed, we will go back in and reconstruct those before monsoon season. Already working very cooperatively with the Forest Service on I think that covers it. I know that's a lot. Again, I think almost all of this is in your packets. Certainly the details about cleanup is in your packets, and I'll be around if people have questions, if you have questions as well. So I'm here for you, and I will be here for you. Thank you.
Well, as we know, unfortunately, fire season started early. So it is important that we are fire safe and fire wise. Lots of information on the Coconino County website. Also a place to go, Coconino County website. Please sign up for emergency notifications if you have not. And last but not least, it's a great place to go to get the latest news and the latest information on the tunnel fire. So coconino.az.gov is a place to go to get all the information that you need, and quite frankly recap a lot of the information provided here today. With that, you may have questions. We have a number of people here anxious to answer those questions. So we do have 2 mics up here at the front. Please feel free to come on up and ask your questions. Please.
Hi. I want to thank the outside agencies that came in and helped us get this under control. We've heard a lot of stuff. I've been reading previous news stories how our local departments were taken off guard by the wind. And I'd like to know, there were citizens that called in on Sunday, on Monday, and on Tuesday. I'd like to ask Summit Fire and the local Forest Service how many calls they got on Sunday, how many calls they got on Monday, Tuesday morning, and why this was not stopped.
Members of the Forest Service? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So the fire was first called in at, I believe, 4:22 in the afternoon, and was responded to about 15 minutes later. I don't have the exact minutes there, but we can get that. The fire response was 4 engines, and they were out there from 4:30-ish until approximately 8:30 in the evening that night. The fire was called contained. There was no visible flame or smoke, and so they went back to the station. And then there were no calls that I know of on Monday because, as part of the standard procedure, they went back out there Monday morning. So it wasn't responding to a call. It was just go out and check on the fire. They worked the fire because when the sun comes up, oftentimes the fire can become active. They did that and worked the fire for most of the day, and then went back to the station. And then went back out Wednesday again, and that was when they got out there and the fire, and I don't have the exact details, I haven't talked to all the folks there, but when they got out there, they were working the fire, and that's when the winds picked up and it got away. So the fire was called contained because there was no smoke or visible flame Monday or Tuesday, Sunday or Monday after they finished working. Then Tuesday they went out there, were working the fire, and the winds came up and they could not control it. U.S. Forest Service.
And how many calls came in on Sunday?
I don't have that information, but we can get that.
I think we would like a call registry to local departments to see why this wasn't taken care of, because I'm sure that our citizens are already on alert. We have all us who live out there, it's not everybody, have lived through Schultz and other fires. And we've done the pestilence afterwards with the floods and the grasshoppers and everything else. So we know, Summit Fire Department knows, and if there was any question whatsoever, this should have been taken care of immediately, not waited on. And I don't know why anyone was surprised at the wind or how it got away. It blows every day of the same month, all the time. So we can get a call. Registry?
Yes.
Awesome. And who do we contact for that?
We could share that through our public information officers.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barbara Bartell. I live on Tanager Drive, and thank you. I'm a little short. Anyway, I was driving down Copeland Lane west, coming back home on Monday afternoon. I saw the smoke over there off of Schultz Pass Road. I talked to somebody and they said, oh, that's already been reported. I could kick myself for not reporting it again, because at that point they could have controlled it, but apparently they thought it was already under control. What the heck is going on? I don't get it. Why weren't they on that fire? The wind was blowing very, very hard. They should have been out there at all times trying to get that fire under control. I am very, very disappointed. Our house was not destroyed. We were very lucky. Many, many of our neighbors had their homes burned to the ground. They're just piles of cinders now. You know, we don't deserve this. We need some better service here.
And Barbara, thank you for your comments. And obviously, there are a lot of questions that we all want answers to. What I will state, and what we have been, Forest Service has shared with us, is that there is an outside agency that came in approximately 3 days ago that will be investigating the fire, investigating the source of the fire, and investigating many of the information. And hopefully, we will have more answers once they have completed their work. So thank you for your comments.
Well, I really feel that there will be some lawsuits as a result of this. I'm pretty sure there will. Okay?
Any other questions?
Sorry if it's been answered already, if it's somewhere else. Just curious, was there an official place for that states that we're not allowed back? I know I saw it online that says that we're not allowed back in that area. I'm curious if there's just so I can print it out for insurance.
Thank you. Sheriff, do you have that information? Yeah,
Sorry.
the question was, is there an official place that states that you are not allowed back in? His insurance needs that information. Okay, I guess Lucinda Andriani will meet with you afterwards to make sure you get the information you need. So, yes.
So just following up on some comments that were made earlier. Oh, by the way, I'm Susie McBain. I live in the Fernwood neighborhood. Is that what you need to know? Okay. I understand that you responded, Forest Service responded Sunday afternoon within 15 minutes, and that's great. What I want to know is why was it only contained and not suppressed when the National Weather Service had forecast 50-mile-an-hour winds in the next couple of days? And why didn't your crew remain on site and babysit that fire all night long like they often do when neighborhoods are immediately adjacent to a small start? And so, yeah, why only contained, not suppressed?
So this fire was managed for 100% full suppression from the very beginning. They were there on Sunday. There was no flames and no smoke when they left.
Why didn't they stay and babysit it? They knew how close it was, how proximate it was to residential neighborhoods, and what the forecast was. I mean, why wouldn't you leave one engine to babysit it, and then if it did flare back up, which it obviously did, then, you know, get reinforcements? It just seems like, why did they leave that night?
So ma'am, I don't have the information of exactly how this played out. The folks who have been working since then because of what has transpired since then, but we will be looking to get that information and better understand that. But there was never a time when we thought, oh, we'll just let this sit. We're not going to worry about it. I mean, they went home, back to the station, and then came back first thing the next morning, Monday, and then we're coming back Tuesday, and
My point is that somebody should have remained on site at all times until you knew that thing was not going to pick back up with those winds that we got. But thank you.
I understand.
Good afternoon. Question's probably still going to be for you, Matt. Why did it take so long to get a Type 1 incident team here for us on this fire? We're 20,000 acres. We were 16,000 acres within the first day. The Crooks fire is what, a tenth the size, and they had Type 1 team ordered within 24 hours. And we may have ordered it. What took so long for them to get here? You know, because looking at the past fire, Schultz Museum, you know, we had Type 1 teams here within 24 to 48 hours, and right now we're 5 days after the initial report.
Okay. Yes. So the team was ordered Tuesday, approximately 2 in the afternoon. I was driving up here and was on the phone. We were doing that. And then the team we in-briefed we in-briefed them Thursday at 5 p.m. is when they were here.
Okay, so, thank you.
So a little bit over 48 hours from.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the comparisons between what we have going on here and what's going on at Crooks. It seems like they have a lot more resources attacking what they are, or what they've got going versus what we have, and ours is covered 10 times the amount of space.
And just for the team response, part of that is where they're geographically located. We have 2 Type 1 teams here in Arizona who are both, or in Arizona, New Mexico. They were already committed.
Okay.
So these folks, most of them came down from the Pacific Northwest. So it
Yeah, that helps me
adds a few
understand.
hours.
Thank you.
I'll take your seat.
Any other questions? Yeah.
You said that there were going to be flags or ribbons or something attached at Silver Saddle that would let us back in. When will that happen?
Sheriff, I think we got 2 questions in one here.
You know, that's the big thing, and the incident commander and I have had these discussions throughout the morning. Let me give it to him first, and then I'll finish it.
Thank you, Sheriff. So yeah, we've been discussing this today quite a bit, and our process is that, as you heard from James Osborne, you know, from our operations side, they're evaluating the access and what the needs are for the fire suppression efforts in conjunction with how do we get folks back in there. So our intent is to make a recommendation to the sheriff this evening on what we believe is a workable solution, and then that will give him the information he needs to make the final decision about timing of repopulation and open it back up. So that's the direction that our operations folks have for today, is evaluate, assess, give us a recommendation. They'll bring that back to me, and the sheriff and I will have that conversation this evening based upon the recommendation that we get from our folks on the ground. And then with all of that information, the sheriff will make a decision on timing and appropriateness of reentry.
Because I'm running out of money for food, for shelter for me and my 2 dogs. I need to get back home and clean up around my property more. But I want to thank the sheriff and the department for helping me get back, no matter how briefly, to see how things are going at my place. My UPS guy delivered my dog food, came back and told me to get out. And then it was about 10, 15 minutes later when the fire department came, and then the sheriff after that. But I gotta say, my UPS guy, Luke, probably helped save my ass. And I stopped at the UPS place and commended him, so he knows that. And I have one more quick question, and I'm sorry, but are those spoiled food bins short enough for somebody like me to throw stuff in? Because otherwise it's going to be left on the ground. I can't throw it that high.
I want to address something you said. I'm gonna try to hire that UPS guy if I can, because I have several openings. But when Randy gives that recommendation later this evening, that allows us to determine are there any last-minute safety issues. If we are at a point where all those are addressed and we can let you back in tomorrow, that is what we would like to do.
Thank you.
But again, there's always that possibility. So much of this is weather, and that this north wind was the concern for us and the fire folks. But if we are able to get you back in tomorrow, we will announce it on social media, through press releases. So monitor those things, and if you register with the Coconino information, and we will put it out at the time that we will authorize the opening for the evacuees to return. And our desire again is to do it tomorrow morning, weather permitting today's firefighting activities.
Thank you very much.
And ma'am, if I...
Everybody else too. And the bins are going to be short enough for me?
So ma'am, I'll answer that question. We will make sure that we get some assistance so that, yes, everyone can get their spoiled food into those bins. And I also just wanted to share, I hear your concern about running short on funds with respect to hotels and other things. So please contact us at our Community Assistance Center. We do have some resources to assist with that. On those packets that you receive, there's a card stapled to the corner. That is where our physical location is. If you use the QR code on there, you will go directly to the page and can fill out the intake form, and we will contact you directly regarding what your needs are. There's opportunities for you to fill in what you need. So we are here to help make connections for the resources that you need. Thank you. You're welcome.
Again, the call center number is 928-679-8525. So call the call center. If you need resources, assistance with anything, please call. That's how we're tracking the needs and, know what to respond to. And those online apparently were getting a lot of questions about the emergency notifications. There are two systems that we use to notify during emergencies. First is the county's emergency notification system. And the way that that operates is that, let's take your example. That area that was placed into set and or go on Tuesday, that area, this is all done through a computer system. If you are signed up in that system, it identifies that area, they put a boundary around that area, and then it pulls all the data from that area. So if you signed up your email, if you signed up a cell phone, a landline, whatever you put into the system, it pulls that data and the messaging goes to that, through that mechanism. And this is why, and I know people are resistant today to provide email, but the email is really, really important. Not necessarily as much for maybe the immediate notifications, because really your cell phone, text, that's much better. But we need your emails to be able to communicate with you as we go along. We did that pretty successfully through Schultz. We did it through the Tinder Fire. We're doing it through Museum. And right now, we've only got about 50 or 60% of your emails. If we can get your emails, we'll be able to communicate with you so much more effectively. So that's my one pitch. So back to the notification. So it pulls that area, pulls all the data for that physical area, and then the notification goes out. Notifications in this case. And as areas are added or retracted, it makes, every time that notification goes out, it's by geography. So those of you that, and it doesn't matter where you are. You could be in Phoenix. If you're in that area, you should get the text, assuming you have cell service. You know, you should get that notification. But if you are not in that area, you live in Flagstaff, and say, well, a lot of people are calling and saying, well, I'm in Flagstaff, I want to know what's going on out there. You're not going to get the emergency notification for that area because we don't want to create confusion, right? So those areas that are in the, have to be either in ready or set or go status, those are the people who get those notifications. Now there's another system that we use. It isn't quite as accurate as that, but it's also important. It's called IPAWS, and it's also a geographical area. So they again set up a geographical area, and then what it does is it sends a signal, it sends that notification to everybody within that notification area, every cell phone within that notification area, irrespective of whether you're signed up for the county system or not. Because let's say someone was out hiking that day up above your neighborhood. Let's say whoever mentioned the UPS driver was in there. That tags every cell phone in that geographic area. Again, it doesn't tag in Williams or Flagstaff or Fredonia or anywhere else. It tags right there in that geographic area. So those two systems are the way that we notify people. But the county notification, and we have people set up outside, please go out. If you are not signed up, sign up for the county notifications. And if you have not provided your email, I really ask you to reconsider that, because you will get information far more quickly and effectively that way. And if you say, hey, I'd also like to get a paper copy, we'll get you paper copies of whatever you want as well. So thank you.
Looks like we have time. One more question.
Hi. My name is Helen. I live off of Brandis. Obviously, a lot of us are very affected, and there's a lot of feelings. So I would like to know how we're going to have access to the investigation, and I'm hoping there's a lot of transparency around that.
Well, I would hope that once that it is going to be made public, and once we get it, we will make sure that it gets out into the community. So, and I have absolutely no idea when we'll get that. Needless to say, that's up to the investigators, and we want them to do a good job. So, members of the community, thank you so much. This is very... Sure. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I knew I was going to have to yell, but I can't. I'm sorry.
Barry Sharp, yes. Hi,
Yes,
Barry.
I live on 12930 Monsoon Road. I had moved here 6 years ago from LA, and I rescued two pit bull rescues. And I brought them out to here to live with me, and I fenced my yard so they can have a decent home. Well, when that fire, I called in on, I do believe it was Easter, when I saw smoke when I was coming home from Safeway. And I stopped at the fire station, I guess it's 33, as you're coming up 89, and I pulled in there and I rang the doorbell several times. I got no answer. And another gentleman pulled in with him and another gentleman came in with a truck, and they also were trying to ring the doorbell. We got no answer. So I told him, you know what, the best thing for us to do is call 911, and that's what I did and reported the fire then. Okay? And then I went ahead and went home. I thought everything, they said that it was under control. They already had a crew coming out. And then I went ahead and thought, you know what, it's okay. So I went ahead and went home, but then on Wednesday when the fire, I saw smoke in that same area, I called 911 again. The lady on the line said, yes, we have a crew out there, and we're currently doing a controlled burn. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, lady, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. No one does a controlled burn when there's 55-mile-an-hour winds coming our way. That is ridiculous. I don't know if that's the case, but that fire moved awful quick after that. And before I know it, it was in my coming across my backyard while I was battling that fire.
Yes, sir.
The leading edge of that thing was so hot and intense while I was standing in that backyard with a hose, hosing my property down, and it knocked me to the ground. That's why I can't make it down there. I bruised all on my whole right side.
Yes.
So,
yes,
I was looking around the whole time. I was working that, because the fire was coming and I could see it. I saw sheriff cars. A couple of sheriff cars pulled up in front of my house, and they said, we're here to help. And I said, well, buddy, if you're going to help me, you need to grab a hose, because I'm not leaving. I got dogs, I got my cat and everything, and I'm not moving. He just kind of like snickered at me, and he drove off. And I looked around over and over and over again. I saw not one fire crew of any sort coming to help out. I was there standing alone.
So Barry, what I can address is your comment about a prescribed fire controlled burn. And I agree with you, it would have been ridiculous to do that. We had no prescribed fires this week. Last week on Friday was our last one, and looking at the forecast for this week, we had no prescribed fires planned. So that's, I'm sorry I can't speak to the Summit engines being in your neighborhood or anything like that, but it absolutely was not a prescribed fire.
Well, after it passed by my house, I got on my tractor and I tried to save my veteran friend from Vietnam as it burned through his property. It took one of his houses, but I took my tractor and I drove over there, knocked his fence down, and tried to save the other structure, which at least you'd have a place to live. So I was scooping up dirt, trying to put out the embers that were scooting across the back of his property, creeping towards his house. So I saved the one structure, but I could not save the other. But I never left.
Thank you for your bravery.
I did not see anybody there to help anybody in our neighborhood until I was out there on my tractor and the fire had already jumped 89, and I'm trying to put out embers to save my friend's last home. And then the fire people started showing up, and they just stood there on Brandis watching me, putting out the embers on my friend's property. So we definitely need some help, and in a very timely fashion.
Thank you, Barry, for your comments. And members of the community, we will be here afterwards. If any of you have any questions or would like to meet with any of us individually, we will be here. And As we get more information, as we get more answers to these questions, we will continue to meet with you, the community, and get this information out to you. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for your resilience and your patience, and we're going to do what we can. Thank you so much.